The sun came
Oh
up slow over
my
the empty land.
God.
Samuel watched it rise from his porch, the way he did every morning for the past 40 years. The sky turned from black to purple to orange to gold. It was beautiful, but Samuel did not smile. He was too old to smile at beauty now. His ranch was small, not like the big ones you hear about in stories. Just a simple house made of wood, a barn that needed new paint, some fences that fell down in storms and never got fixed again, a few chickens, a garden that grew what it wanted, not what Samuel asked it to grow. That was enough for one old man. Samuel was 73 years old. His back hurt. His hands shook sometimes. His wife had died 12 years ago. She was buried in the little cemetery 2 miles down the road, under a cross made from white wood. He visited her grave once a month. He would stand there and tell her about the weather, about the chickens, about nothing important. She never answered, but he went anyway. This morning was like every other morning. Samuel drank black coffee that was cold from yesterday. He ate bread with salt. He looked at his land, the dusty fields, the fences, the empty sky that stretched forever. He thought about all the things he needed to do. Fix the fence, clean the barn, fix the roof before the rain came. But he was tired. He was so tired of being alone. That was when he heard the sound. It came from far away first. Just a small sound. Samuel thought it was the wind. But the wind did not sound like that. The wind did not have a rhythm. The wind did not move like something alive. Samuel stood up. His old bones made noise when he moved. Creak, creak, pop. The sound grew louder. Now Samuel knew what it was. A horse coming toward his house. But something was wrong. Samuel had lived long enough to know the sounds of horses. He knew how a horse that carried a rider sounded different from a horse that was alone. A rider shifted in the saddle. A rider made noise. A rider said words or made sounds with their mouth. This horse made no such sounds. Samuel heard only hoofbeats. Only the sound of something rolling behind the horse. Something heavy. Something wooden. Samuel walked down the porch steps, one at a time, slow and careful, so he would not fall. His eyes were not so good anymore, but he could see dust rising on the road in the distance. The dust got bigger. The sound got louder. Then Samuel saw it. The horse was the biggest horse Samuel had ever seen in his life. It was not normal. Normal horses were big, yes. But this horse was colossal. It was like a mountain that had learned to walk. Its body was wide like a barn door. Its legs were thick like tree trunks. Its neck was long and strong and covered in dark hair. The color of its body was like a storm-dark gray and lighter gray mixed together, and white marks on its face like old scars from lightning strikes. But the horse had no rider. Samuel's mouth opened, but no words came out. The horse was harnessed. Yes, it had a proper harness around its body, the kind used to pull heavy wagons. And behind the horse came a wagon. The wagon was made of rough wood, old wood, the kind of wood that had traveled many miles under many suns. The wagon had 4 wheels, all of them covered in red dust. The wagon was empty, or looked empty from here. But there was no driver. There was no man sitting on the wagon bench. There was no man holding the reins. There was no man at all. The colossal horse simply walked forward, like it knew where it was going, like it had a purpose. Samuel stepped back. His heart beat faster. This was not normal. This was not something that happened in the regular world. The horse came closer and closer. Samuel could now see the horse's eyes. They were dark and big and wet, like the horse was sad about something. The horse's breathing was hard. The horse's sides moved up and down, like the horse had run a long distance. The horse's legs were covered in dust, so thick you could write words in it. The horse walked right to Samuel's fence and stopped. It stopped like it knew Samuel was there. It stopped like it was looking for him. The horse did not move. It did not try to go around the fence. It did not try to continue down the road. It simply stood there, facing Samuel, breathing hard, with its colossal body shaking a little bit in the morning light. Samuel's hands shook. His voice shook when he spoke. "Hello," Samuel said. Just one word. "Hello." The horse made a sound. Not a loud sound, a quiet sound. A sad sound. A sound like the horse was asking a question. A sound like the horse was looking for an answer. Samuel walked to the fence, slow and careful. The horse did not run away. The horse did not move back. The horse just stood there, watching Samuel with those big sad eyes. Samuel could see something now. There was a name carved into the wagon side. One word. It said, Marcus. That was all, just a name. But below the name was something else, something carved by a smaller hand, something that looked like a small child's handprint, marked into the wood. Samuel's own hand went to his mouth. Tears came to his eyes. He did not know why. He did not know this horse. He did not know anyone named Marcus. He did not know who made the handprint on the wagon. But he knew something had happened, something sad, something terrible. The colossal horse breathed and breathed, and Samuel breathed and breathed, and they stood there together in the morning light, the old lonely farmer and the giant mysterious horse, and neither of them knew what would happen next. But something would happen, something important. Something that would change everything.
Samuel did not move for a long time. He stood at his fence and looked at the colossal horse. The horse looked back at Samuel. They were like two people meeting after many years, neither sure if they should be happy or sad. The sun climbed higher in the sky. It was getting hot now. Samuel could feel the heat on his face. But he did not go inside. He could not leave the horse alone. Slowly, very slowly, Samuel opened his fence gate. It made a sound, creak, because the hinges were old and rusty. The horse did not jump or run away. The horse just stood there and waited. Samuel walked toward the horse. His legs were stiff. His heart was beating fast. He had no plan. He did not know what he would do when he reached the horse. But he needed to touch it. He needed to know if it was real. The colossal horse's head was high above Samuel's head. The horse was so big that Samuel felt like a small child standing next to it. Samuel reached out his shaking hand. His fingers were wrinkled and brown from the sun. His nails were dirty from work. He touched the horse's neck. The horse was warm. The horse was real. Samuel felt tears come again, but he did not know why. He just stood there with his hand on the horse's neck, feeling the strong muscles under the rough hair. The horse's skin was wet with sweat. The horse had worked hard. The horse had come a long distance. Samuel began to talk. He did not plan the words. They just came out. "It is okay," Samuel whispered. "It is okay now. You are safe here. You are safe with me." The colossal horse lowered its huge head. The horse's forehead almost touched Samuel's forehead. The horse breathed out, and Samuel breathed in. They were close now, very close, like friends, like family. The horse made that same sad sound again. But this time, Samuel understood. The sound meant, "Thank you. Thank you for finding me. Thank you for not being afraid." Samuel did not know how long he stood there. Time moved different when you were with a creature like this. Time moved slow. Time moved like honey. But finally, Samuel's back began to hurt too much, and he knew he needed to move. "Come," Samuel said, and he walked toward his barn. He did not pull the horse. He did not make the horse follow. He just walked, and the horse came behind him like it was the most natural thing in the world. The barn was dark and cool inside. Samuel had hay stored there. Not much hay, because he did not have many animals anymore, but enough for a horse. He showed the horse to an empty stall, a big empty space where horses could stand and rest. The horse walked into the stall and turned around and looked at Samuel with those big sad eyes. Samuel brought water from the well. He brought buckets and buckets of cold water. The colossal horse drank and drank and drank. It seemed like the horse had not had water for many days. The horse drank so much that Samuel was afraid the horse would get sick. But the horse knew what its body needed. After the horse finished drinking, Samuel brought hay. Good hay, sweet hay. The horse ate slowly, carefully, like it was tasting every piece. Samuel sat down on a wooden box in the barn. He watched the horse eat. He watched the horse breathe. He watched the horse's muscles relax, like the horse was beginning to feel safe for the first time in a long time. As he watched, Samuel noticed something. There were marks on the horse's legs. Marks from rope. Marks from struggle. The horse had tried to break free from something. The horse had fought against something. This colossal creature, so big and so strong, had been held against its will, and it had fought to escape. Samuel's hands made fists. He did not know why this made him angry. He did not know who had hurt this horse. He did not know what had happened. But he knew that this horse had suffered. "Nobody will hurt you here," Samuel said. "I promise. Nobody will hurt you again." The horse stopped eating. The horse looked at Samuel, and Samuel swore that the horse nodded. The horse understood. That afternoon, Samuel did things he had not done in years. He found old soap and brushes. He brought them to the barn. He began to wash the horse. He started with the horse's face, gently cleaning away the dust and dirt. The horse closed its eyes like it was enjoying this. The horse's muscles relaxed. Samuel worked slowly. He cleaned the horse's neck. He cleaned the horse's legs. He cleaned the colossal body, working carefully, never rushing. As he worked, he began to understand the horse better. He saw scars on the horse's body. Old scars. This horse had lived a hard life. This horse had known pain. But this horse was still alive. This horse had come here. This horse had found Samuel. When Samuel finished washing, he dried the horse with old cloth. He brushed the horse's long mane. He worked the tangles out gently, piece by piece. The horse's coat began to shine. The dark gray and light gray colors became beautiful. The white marks on the horse's face looked like old battle scars from ancient wars. Samuel stepped back and looked at what he had done. The colossal horse was beautiful. "You need a name," Samuel said. "I cannot call you just horse. You are special. You are important." Samuel thought and thought. He looked at the horse's strong body. He looked at the horse's kind eyes. He looked at the marks on the wagon that said Marcus. "Storm," Samuel said. "I will call you Storm, because you are big like a storm, and you carry sadness like a storm carries rain." The horse turned and looked at Samuel. The horse stepped toward Samuel. The horse lowered its huge head and rested it gently against Samuel's chest. Samuel put his arms around the horse's head. He was crying now, tears running down his old, wrinkled face. He did not know why. He did not understand what this all meant. But he knew one thing. He was not alone anymore. And the horse knew it too. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of peace. 3 weeks of Samuel and Storm living together on the small ranch. 3 weeks where Samuel felt like his life had a reason again. Every morning, Samuel would wake up and walk to the barn. Storm would be waiting by the fence, looking for Samuel. Samuel would bring water and food. Samuel would brush Storm's mane. Samuel would sit in the barn for hours, just being near the horse, just feeling like he was not alone anymore. The other animals on the ranch seemed to know that something had changed. The chickens stopped being nervous. The garden grew better than it had in years. Even the old fence seemed to stand a little straighter, like it was proud to be part of a place where something good was happening. But then the weather changed. The sky, which had always been blue, became white. Not white from clouds, white from heat. The heat came like an enemy. It came early in the morning and stayed until late at night. It never left. It never got cool anymore. Even when the sun went down, the ground was still hot to touch. Days passed. No rain fell. No clouds came. The sky was just white and empty and burning. Samuel's well began to dry up. The well had been there for 50 years. Samuel's father had dug it. It had always given water. But now, each day, there was less water. Each day, Samuel had to pull the rope deeper and deeper to find water. Each day, he got less than the day before. The wheat in his fields began to die. The green turned to brown. The plants got smaller and smaller, like they were giving up. The garden that had grown so well just days before began to fail. The leaves turned yellow. The fruit stopped growing. Samuel began to worry. He began to count his water. He had large clay pots in his house, filled with water from the well. He counted them like a rich man counts gold. 1 pot, 2 pots, 3 pots, 4 pots, 5 pots, 5 pots. That was all. He did not know how long 5 pots would last. Maybe 2 weeks. Maybe 3 weeks. Then what? What would happen when the water was gone? And what about Storm? A horse like Storm needed a lot of water. Storm's massive body needed water every day. Storm needed more water than Samuel needed. Samuel began to give Storm less water. He began to measure it carefully. 1 bucket per day. That was all. Storm seemed to know. The horse's eyes began to look sad again. Not the sadness of grief. The sadness of knowing something was wrong. The sadness of remembering that bad things happened to good creatures. One night, Samuel could not sleep. He lay in his bed and worried. He thought about the 5 pots of water. He thought about the well that was running dry. He thought about what would happen next. Around midnight, he heard something. He heard hoofbeats. He heard the sound of a horse moving. But the movement was different. It was not the calm, peaceful movement of a horse resting. This was urgent. This was fast. This was scared. Samuel got up and walked outside in the darkness. The stars were very bright. There was no moon, but there were so many stars that Samuel could see his own shadow. Storm was at the fence. Storm was pacing. Storm was moving back and forth, like the horse was looking for something. The horse's eyes were big and wild. The horse was shaking. Samuel walked to the fence. "Storm, what is wrong?" Samuel asked. The horse did not look at Samuel. The horse looked toward the mountains in the distance. The mountains were far away, maybe 10 miles, maybe more. The horse kept staring at them. The horse's body was shaking with something. Fear? Excitement? Hunger? Samuel did not know. The horse made a sound. The sound was loud and urgent. The sound meant, "I have to go. I have to go now." Samuel understood then. Something in Storm's big brain remembered something. Something in the horse's body knew something. The horse knew where water was. The horse remembered a place, maybe from before, maybe from when the horse was younger, maybe from the journey that brought Storm to Samuel's ranch. The horse knew where water lived. "Storm," Samuel whispered. "You know, don't you? You know where the water is." Storm made the sound again. The horse reared up on its back legs, high in the air, and came down hard on the ground. The horse was desperate. The horse was trying to tell Samuel something important. Samuel walked to the barn. He moved slowly. His old body was tired, but his mind was working fast. He understood what was happening. He understood what he had to do. Samuel gathered the 5 pots of water. He gathered them carefully. He brought them to Storm. He brought buckets and buckets of water. He filled them all. He poured all of his water into containers. He filled bottles. He filled every container he had. And then he tied all the water to Storm's harness. "You know where to go, don't you?" Samuel said. "You know where the well is. You know where the water sleeps under the ground." Storm stopped moving. The horse came close to Samuel. The horse lowered its huge head and touched Samuel's face gently with its nose. The horse was saying goodbye. Samuel's eyes filled with tears. "Go," Samuel said. His voice was shaking. "Go and find the water. You are strong. You are brave. You can do this." Samuel walked to the gate. He opened it wide. He stepped back. Storm looked at Samuel one more time. The horse's eyes said, "I will try. I will try to come back." And then the colossal horse began to run. Samuel watched as Storm ran toward the distant mountains. The horse was carrying all the water on its back. The horse was carrying Samuel's only hope. The horse was carrying everything. Samuel stood at the gate and watched until he could not see Storm anymore. He stood there until the sound of hoofbeats disappeared. He stood there until there was only silence and stars and the burning heat of the desert night. Then Samuel walked back to his house. He had no water left. He had given it all to the horse. He did not know if Storm would return. He did not know if the horse would find water. He did not know if he had just sent his only friend to die in the desert. Samuel lay in his bed in the darkness. He listened to the silence. He waited for something to happen, and he began to count the days until he would know if he had made a terrible mistake or if he had made the bravest choice of his life. Day 1. Samuel woke up thirsty. His mouth was dry like old paper. His throat hurt. He had given all his water to Storm the night before, and now there was nothing left to drink. He went to the well. He pulled the rope. It came up empty. The well was dry, completely dry. The ground had taken back the water it had once given. Samuel sat on the edge of the well and put his head in his hands. He had made a choice. He had sent Storm away with all the water. And now he was alone with nothing but the burning heat and the endless sky. The sun was already hot at 8 in the morning. By noon, it was like standing inside a fire. Samuel stayed in his house because it was cooler inside. But even inside, the heat was terrible. The wooden walls seemed to hold the heat and throw it back at him. Samuel did not eat. He could not eat without water. He just sat on his porch and watched the road where Storm had disappeared. No horse came back. Night came. The heat went away a little, but Samuel was so thirsty that he could not sleep. His tongue was swollen. His lips were cracked. He lay in his bed and thought about water. He thought about the well when it was full and fresh. He thought about rain. He thought about rivers and lakes and oceans. He thought about anything wet. He thought about Storm. Was the horse alive? Had Storm found the water? Or was the colossal horse lying dead in the desert somewhere, the empty water containers scattered around its body like a grave? Samuel had made a terrible mistake. He was sure of it now. He should have kept some water for himself. He should have kept some water to survive. But instead, he had given everything to the horse. He had trusted a horse with his life. Day 2. Samuel woke up and his mouth would not work properly. The words in his head did not come out right. His vision was strange. Things looked like they were moving when they were not moving. He tried to stand up. He fell down. He crawled to the porch. He sat there and stared at the empty road. His body was hot, not from the sun, but from inside. He was burning from the inside. He thought about his wife. She had been dead for 12 years. He wondered if she was disappointed in him. He wondered if she thought he was foolish for giving all his water to a horse. But then he remembered her smile. She had been kind. She would have done the same thing. She would have given everything to help a creature that needed help. The chickens came and looked at him. The chickens were thirsty too. Samuel could see that the chickens were suffering, but he had nothing to give them. He watched them die. One by one, they just laid down in the dust and stopped moving. By afternoon, all the chickens were dead or dying. Samuel tried to feel sad about this, but he was too tired to feel anything. Day 3. Samuel could barely see anymore. The world was all white and spinning. He was not sure if he was awake or dreaming. He was not sure if anything was real. He crawled into the barn. It was cooler there. He lay down in the hay and did not move. He thought about his life. 73 years. 73 years of work. 73 years of being alone. 73 years of waking up and doing the same things and going to sleep. 73 years of waiting for something good to happen. And then Storm came. For 3 weeks, something good happened. For 3 weeks, Samuel was not alone. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was all a person could ask for. Samuel closed his eyes. Day 4. Samuel did not know it was day 4. He did not know what day it was. He did not know his own name anymore. There was only pain. There was only heat. There was only the feeling of burning up from the inside. He lay in a barn and did not move. He could not move. His body was not listening to his mind anymore. He was dying. He knew this. He was not afraid. Death seemed like a good thing now. Death seemed like rest. The only thing he regretted was not seeing Storm again. He had wanted to know if the horse had found water. He had wanted to know if his sacrifice meant something. But he would not know. He would die here in the barn, alone again, and nobody would know what happened. Nobody would find him for weeks, maybe. The ranch would be empty. The animals would all be gone. Storm would not come back, because Storm would never know that Samuel had died waiting. Samuel's eyes closed. Day 5. Samuel heard something. It was far away. It was small. It was like a dream sound. Hoofbeats. Samuel tried to open his eyes. They would not open properly. Everything was blurry. Everything was shapes and light and darkness all mixed together. But he heard the hoofbeats getting closer. He heard breathing. Big breathing. Loud breathing. He smelled something. The smell of wet. The smell of water. Samuel tried to speak, but his voice would not work. Only a small sound came out. A whisper. A breath. Something touched his face. Something soft and warm. A nose. A horse's nose. Storm. The horse had come back. Samuel tried to reach out his hand, but his arm would not move. He could only lie there and feel the horse's nose touching his face. The horse was making sounds, crying sounds. The horse was sad. "Storm," Samuel whispered. He could barely hear himself. "Storm, is it you?" The horse made a loud sound. Not a sad sound, a calling sound. The horse was calling for something. The horse was calling for someone. Then Samuel heard something else. Footsteps. Not hoofbeats. Human footsteps. Running footsteps. A voice called out, "Please, please, is anyone here?" It was not Samuel. It was someone else. Someone young. Someone desperate. Samuel understood. The horse had brought someone. The horse had carried water and supplies and brought someone back to Samuel. The horse had kept its promise. Samuel could not smile because his face would not work. But inside, in a place beyond pain, beyond heat, beyond thirst, Samuel felt something. Hope. The colossal horse had not forgotten him. The colossal horse had come home. The footsteps came closer. Samuel could hear them clearly now. Running. Heavy running. The sound of someone desperate. A boy appeared in the barn door. A boy maybe 10 years old. His clothes were torn and dirty. His face was burned red by the sun. His hair was long and wild. His eyes were big and scared. But he was alive. The boy ran to Samuel and fell on his knees beside the old man. "Water," the boy said, and his voice was shaking. "Drink water. Please drink." The boy held a bottle to Samuel's lips. Samuel tried to drink, but his throat was so swollen that it hurt. The water was cold. The water was the best thing Samuel had ever tasted. The boy gave him small amounts. Not too much at once. Just enough. Then a little more. The boy seemed to know what he was doing. The boy had done this before. "Do not drink too fast," the boy said. "Too fast will make you sick. Small drinks. Small drinks is good." Samuel looked at the boy. His vision was still blurry, but he could see the boy's face now. He could see the boy's eyes. They were kind eyes. Worried eyes. Eyes that had seen too much sadness. "Who?" Samuel tried to speak, but the word came out like a croak. "My name is Thomas," the boy said. "Thomas Marcus. My father was Marcus. I'm Thomas Marcus." Samuel's eyes opened wider. He understood now. Thomas. Thomas Marcus. The handprint on the wagon. The name carved in the wood. "My father," Thomas continued, and tears came to his eyes. "My father was a good man. He was the best rider in all the country. He rode the colossal horse. He named her Storm before I was born. He loved her more than anything. More than money. More than everything." Thomas gave Samuel more water. Samuel drank slowly, carefully. "My father died," Thomas said, and his voice broke. "He died in the mountains 3 months ago. There was a rock slide. A storm came. Rocks fell. Many rocks. My father was riding Storm. The rocks came down, and my father was. Thomas could not finish. He put his head down and cried. Samuel reached out his hand. His arm was weak, but he moved it. He touched the boy's head. He did not say anything. There were no words. Thomas lifted his head and wiped his eyes. "After my father died, everything was bad," Thomas said. "My mother got sick. We had no money. People said that Storm was cursed. They said the horse killed my father. They wanted to take Storm and sell her. They wanted to kill her." Thomas looked toward the barn door where Storm stood, her head down, listening. "But Storm was not cursed," Thomas said. "Storm loved my father. Storm loved me. When my mother got worse and we had no food and no place to live, Storm did something amazing." Samuel listened with all his strength. "Storm broke free," Thomas said. "She broke through the fence. She pulled the wagon by herself. The wagon that had belonged to my father. The wagon with his name on it. Storm pulled that wagon, and she would not stop. She pulled it for days and days. I followed her. I did not know where she was going, but I followed because I had nothing else." Thomas's voice became stronger now, more sure. "Storm ran and ran," Thomas said. "She ran toward the north, toward the mountains. She ran like she was looking for something, or someone. She ran like she remembered something important. After 3 days of running, Storm stopped at a well in the mountains, an old well that my father told me about once, a well where water never stops running, even in the hottest drought." Samuel understood now. The horse had remembered. The horse had known where the water was. Storm drank, Thomas said, and I drank. And then Storm took the bottles and containers and filled them all. She carried so much water that it was heavy, very heavy, but Storm did not care. Storm was strong. Thomas looked at Samuel with eyes that were clear now, eyes that understood something deep. And then Storm turned around, Thomas said. She turned around and started walking south, away from the mountains, away from the well. I did not understand. I said, Storm, why? Why do we go back to the heat? Why do we not stay where the water is? Thomas paused. But Storm knew, Thomas said. Storm knew that she had to come here. To you. Storm remembered you. My father talked about you. My father said you were a good man, a kind man, a man who lived alone. My father said if anything ever happened to him, if anything ever went wrong, to find you, to bring you Storm, to tell you that you were family. Samuel's eyes filled with tears. He tried to speak, but he could not. My father knew you, Samuel whispered. My father knew you long ago, Thomas said. Before I was born, you both rode together once. You both worked on a big ranch. My father said you were the best man he ever knew. When he got old and left the ranch, he carried that memory. He carried the memory of you. Thomas gave Samuel more water. Storm carried the water across the desert, Thomas said. I followed Storm. Storm would not stop. Storm would walk and walk and walk. And every time I said, Storm, I am tired. Storm, I am scared, the horse would keep going. The horse would turn around and look at me with those eyes and say, come on, we are almost there. We are almost there. Thomas's voice shook again. I did not know how Storm knew where to go, Thomas said. But she came here. She came to your house. I did not know why, but then I understood. Storm was looking for you. Storm was coming to help you. Because my father said you were family. Because animals remember kindness. Because Storm loved my father and my father loved you. Samuel looked at the colossal horse standing in the barn door. The horse was watching him with those big dark eyes. The eyes that held so much memory, so much love, so much loyalty. Your father, Samuel whispered. I have not seen him in 30 years. 30 years. But I remember him. I remember he was good. I remember he was kind. He is gone now, Thomas said. But Storm is here. And I am here. Storm brought me to you because my father would have wanted that. Because family takes care of family. Because some bonds do not die with death. Samuel reached up and touched the boy's face. What will you do? Samuel asked. Where will you go? Thomas looked at Storm. The horse lowered her head and came close to the boy. We will stay here, Thomas said. If you will have us, we will stay with you. Storm will help you with your ranch. I will help you. We will fix the fences and the roof. We will make the garden grow, and you will not be alone anymore. Samuel looked at the boy. He looked at the colossal horse. He looked at the wagon outside with the name Marcus carved in the wood and the handprint below it. And Samuel understood. His friend Marcus had died, but he had left something behind. He had left Storm. He had left Thomas. He had sent them across a burning desert to find Samuel. He had sent them to save Samuel's life. Some debts are paid not in gold or silver. Some debts are paid in love. Some debts are paid in loyalty that lasts beyond death. Some debts are paid in the hoofbeats of a colossal horse that refuses to forget. Samuel reached out and took the boy's hand. Yes, Samuel said. Stay. Please stay. You are family. You and Storm. You are my family now. That night, Samuel drank water and ate soup that Thomas made. That night, Samuel felt warm again. That night, Samuel was not alone. And in the barn, the colossal horse named Storm stood guard, remembering the man who had loved her, watching over the boy he had sent, protecting the family that had been brought back together by a promise that death could not break. Some stories end, but some stories teach us that loyalty never dies. Some stories teach us that true bonds outlive death. Some stories teach us that kindness always returns, even if it takes a lifetime to come home. This was one of those stories. And the old ranch, once empty and sad, became a place of light again. Because love remembers, and love always finds its way home. The end.